Welcome to the 111 Approach podcast, your go-to space for deep thoughts, real talk, and exploration of everything from spirituality to self-development and the mysteries of life with some light-hearted humour along the way. I'm your host, Lakshmi, aka the 1 Minute Healer, and each episode will dive into different topics, sometimes personal, sometimes thought-provoking, but always authentic. So whether you're here for some new perspectives, inspiration, or just a fresh take on the world with a bit of randomness thrown into the mix, you're definitely in the right place. So what are you waiting for? Let's get into it. Hello, and welcome to the 111 Approach podcast with me, Lakshmi, aka the 1 Minute Healer. This is another two-parter. I've started doing a lot of these two-parters now. So it's part 2 of the episode with the not so well-known drug lord, retired drug lord, and now reformed to help young adults and children. It is the beautiful being, Earth Angel, that is Moira Parry. Today I wanted to dig a little bit deeper about some of the things that we kind of touched upon in your episode, particularly the part where we spoke a little bit about how we are both empaths and how because of that we continue to do a lot of work on our self-awareness and personal development. Is that when we communicate with others, we want to be our most authentic, honest selves. But we've both quickly realised that quite a lot of people, when we speak our truth and how we are truly feeling, a lot of people don't know how to handle that and how to respond. And then B, on the flip side, when we ask people genuinely like, oh, how are you doing and how are things going, we're met with quite surface level kind of autopilot answers. And I find that difficult to navigate in terms of, this is why I feel a lot of us wear masks in front of people, because we don't know how to respond, because maybe we just don't know how we're feeling, or we know how we're feeling and we don't know how to say it to someone, or they don't feel maybe in a safe enough space to open up, which is very valid. But B, a lot of people don't want to hear that you're not doing very well because they don't know what to do. And so I'm really glad that you've come on to help me speak about this topic, because I've been touching on it in one of my episodes when I lost Dad and I was going through the grief process. But because I was doing my 1 minute lives on my Instagram, which I still do, and I was very vocal about how much it hurt and the dark thoughts that you go through, and I was thinking, why isn't this known? So I thought, well, I'm going to make it known, because I wouldn't want anyone to feel like, I just wanted people to know, because I just felt like, if I can't be the only person feeling like this. But then I got met with comments like, you're just too open, you're too raw, you need to rein it in a little bit because you're making people feel uncomfortable. And that's when I was like, oh, so I'm not only fucking grieving, now I've got to make sure that people don't feel fucking uncomfortable? Well, why? Any words of wisdom, Moira, or some of your experiences as well?
Goodness, it's such a difficult one, isn't it? And there are so many layers to this. And I know you and I have had, outside of this session, obviously, quite a few discussions on this. But I know, so for me, Mum and Dad passed away literally within 8 months of each other.
Wow,
and
close.
Yeah, and Dad died 2 weeks before I was due to get married. So it was all heavy. And I remember it was weird, because that all kind of, Dad passed away in the August, and then later on in like the year after that, so it was September 22. It was like a blind was being slowly pulled down in front of me. So the darkness wasn't immediate for me. It was like the roller blind was just slowly easing its way down. And I started to notice it. And people were asking me at the time, how are you? And I would say, in all honesty, I feel fucking shit. Now, some people were like, wow, I'm really sorry to hear that. And obviously didn't want to approach it too much, which I fully respect from their side as well. But then there were others who I learned very quickly, you're better off not saying anything. And I remember feeling resentful of that and angered as well, because I thought, well, you've asked me a question of how I am feeling. This is how I am feeling. Now, when I look at it now, I do tend to think, well, okay, at that time, I didn't give thought to how that made that person feel as well. I didn't think, well, actually, have they had an experience like this? Because it was too much, and you don't have the time or the energy at that point to think like that. But I remember being very angry, being very upset, and I remember getting to a point in the December with just getting more and more lost by it all, shall we say. That I was standing in the kitchen at home and I got this knife out of the kitchen drawer, and I apologise if this upsets anybody. There's this part of my brain that was saying to me, harm yourself. And then there was this other side of my brain going, no, you're not going to do that. And it was at that point I put the knife back in the drawer straight away and I closed the drawer. And I was on my own in the house and I stood there and I said out loud, because it's almost like I needed to hear it to myself. I said out loud, I need help. And the moment I said that, I felt a sense of relief and acknowledgement what I was going through. And I then basically went and I got grief counselling, which was phenomenal and really, really did help me enormously. But I think what staggered me during those dark days was that the lack of understanding of me just wanting to say, no, this is shit. I am hurting. I am in pain. I am in discomfort. And if I'm sitting here crying, I have to cry right now. Don't judge me on it. I think there was a lot of time of reflection and trying to understand myself as well as to why I was kind of feeling all of these different emotions. And I know through the therapy, I understood so much more, which really did help me. But I think the ultimate was that having gone through that is that now, if somebody says to me, how are you? There are certain people to this day, I know who I can say, I feel like shit. And I know there are other people I'll say, oh, I'm fine, thanks, how's you? And I'll push it aside because I think you're not ready. And I've learned to respect it. But I know at the time I was very angry. I was very upset. But why wouldn't I be feeling like that, to be brutally honest?
Yeah.
So, you know, and we're all different. We're all going to process it very, very differently. I remember once going, I was having a tattoo, and
Typical drug lord. I'm just joking. Just on the side note before you get into that, it's so funny because when I was younger, for some reason, I associated people with tattoos would automatically deal drugs. I have no idea where this thing came from. I just thought that if you had a tattoo, it meant you were dealing drugs and you were a bad person. Fun fact, I do have a tattoo.
I was going to say, love, we know about your tattoos.
But isn't it crazy? That's going to be another topic for another day. I need to sit and explore where did that come from. And I distinctly remember it was my cousin's birthday party and she had a swimming party, and there was this guy playing with his son or daughter, I can't remember, in the pool, and he was a shaven head, and he had tattoos all down his back, and like very like quite a lot of tattoos. And I just remember, oh my God, I have to swim away from him because I felt like, oh, he
Oh.
must be a bad man because he's got tattoos. And I was thinking, where the hell has this come from? But he was playing with this kid. So crazy. Anyway, I'm so sorry. That was a side note. This is how, if you're a regular listener, you know where my mind goes. I do have a bit of ADHD, but you know, this is how we roll.
Don't label yourself, please.
Oh, yes, true. That's very true. But I'll say what you were going to say.
I was actually going in for a tattoo, which I have on my shoulder, which is of forget-me-nots butterflies to remember my mum. The lady that was doing the tattoo, we were talking about grief, and she said to me that she'd had a lady who had come in who unfortunately lost her child at a very, very, very early age. And apologies to any listener who may have actually gone through anything like this, because it's uncomprehendable. And she was explaining that this woman had watched a friend of hers walk on the opposite side of the road so that she wouldn't have any communication. Now, going back to like what I was saying earlier, now obviously for her, she would have felt so upset, so distraught, because that's when you need your friends around you. But then, like I was saying, when you kind of get your head into a bit of a better place, it's like she probably actually had no idea what to say, because what can you say? And it's almost like when our parents mature to a good age and they pass away for whatever particular reason it may be, it's not that it's expected, but it's kind of like we know that as you mature, the chances increase, etc. Not that that makes it any easier, because it doesn't. But when you're talking about a little one that literally has only had days or whatever, or if that, it's a whole different ball game.
100%. Yeah.
And I think, for that other person, it was like, I mean, she may have had a child herself, or, we don't know the sets of circumstances. So there's two sides to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Completely two sides to that. I can't honestly sit here and say what is right and what is wrong.
Because there is no right and wrong. Like you said, there's two people involved, and so their understanding, perception, and reasonings are going to be different. There'll be a majority that would say, well, you need to suck it up and be there for your friend. Some people may say, well, like you said, what do you say to that person? And we're not here to say what they should have done, because there's no shoulds.
No, absolutely not.
There's no shoulds in life. There's really no shoulds in life, is there? Because who makes up the shoulds in life? You should do this, you should do that. Well, says who? Says who? Because you can only do you. Yeah, it's true, because you're right, and I resonated with so much stuff that you said there, Moira, because I felt the same, and I feel there's a few things to sort of pick out and explore a bit. When you said there's certain people that you just say, well, yeah, I'm fine, how are you, kind of thing, and you skirt over it. I remember when we were talking offline about this topic, and you said something, and I was like, wow, I want us to talk about that and share it, because I feel that that is such a good way to answer someone who kind of wants a surface level answer, but also to raise a little bit of awareness in the nicest way. And maybe if you are open to wanting to talk about that experience, about what you went through with your accident.
No, 100. I know exactly what you mean. So earlier on in the year, and it's quite nice to actually raise the awareness on this as well, I had a hot water bottle accident. The hot water bottle exploded on me, on my bottom. And fortunately, I didn't have to have skin grafts or anything like that, but I was very badly burnt, and I was in and out of Stoke Mandeville Hospital getting dressings and so forth. And learning how to go to the toilet standing up and all kinds of things that I had to manage and so forth. It was a crappy time and really, really did scare the living daylights out of me, to the point where I couldn't even walk out the house at one point on my own. And I had to have hypnotherapy to help me actually be able to walk around the block on my own. It sounds crazy, doesn't it? And this particular person, and I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for them, because they asked the question, how are you? And you're right. I turned around and said, well, I said, you probably want to hear that I'm okay, but, we'll leave it at that tight touch. And then he asked again, how are you? I said, in all honesty, I'm shit. I'm scared. This is out of control. And they hugged me. And that's all I needed. I just needed somebody to listen. And I'm not saying, my husband, God's gift to creation, that man. He really, really is. And I love him so much. He helped me enormously, even down to changing dressings and everything. He was absolutely a godsend. He was, a beautiful, beautiful human being. So I'm not including him in this, but I just did feel that there were some people out there, and you just think, you just got no idea. But there were plenty of other people who were absolutely amazing. Big shout out to all the Jazzercise girls at Harefield. Thank you, ladies. Who were amazing. Really did rally round, would even come round and sit and have a cup of tea and a coffee with me, and actually genuinely want to know how I was and be prepared for an answer. And they would openly sit there and say, you don't look yourself. And I actually embraced that, because I thought, thank you. You're actually seeing how I'm feeling. And sometimes people can even see how you're feeling but won't acknowledge that. But they did, and that was beautiful. And I'll be forever indebted for everything that they did for me during that time.
Thank you so much for sharing that and raising awareness for, hot water bottles. I'm going to leave some links in the show notes about how to check that your water bottle is in date. They have expiry dates, people. I didn't even know that until after your incident, and you raised awareness. And there's ways to figure out how. I think they only have like a 1 year or 2 year date on them because of the rubber. And there's a way you can have a look at. So we'll leave all that in the show notes. So yeah, thank you for sharing that story. I really genuinely think that by asking that question or responding with the way you responded to that person, and I'm really going to take that on board now, and I'm going to say to people, if certain circumstances, and I invite you all listeners to do the same, do it in your own way, obviously with your own words, but just maybe open up that forum. It's not it's just raising that level of awareness to say, do you really want me to tell you the truth? Because right now I'm going through something, but I'm okay to say I'm okay if you want me to say that, because everyone's different. Everyone's capacity to deal with things is different. And that's what I'm also learning. I was very much similar in your boat at those times as well. I would get upset. I was like, why do people even bother asking then? And I remember having this conversation with my ex. I was like, well, why the hell do people even bother to ask then? Don't freaking even ask me how I'm doing. Of course I'm not going to be doing well. And I'm feeling shit. And then I think the way he said it was like, people do care, but they may not have the capacity to care enough in the way you want them to, or the way you do for others. And I think that was a kind of a learning lesson for me, is that because I do genuinely care, I don't ask unless I care. I'm now very conscious with the words that I use,
yes,
the language that I speak with, and the compliments and any comments I give, because I'm really trying my best to be as honest as possible with myself and with others. And so when I ask someone, well, how are you? Or tell me about this. It's not because I'm being polite. It's because I genuinely want to know.
Yes.
Yes, I'm not going to pretend that it happens all the time, because I'll be very honest. Sometimes there are places that I don't really want to be at because I have to be at. And then I have to play the role of, yep, I'm here. I'm right? I'm wearing that mask. It happens, right? It's not always going to be 100% all the time. But I'd say 99% of the time, And you'll know because you can feel the energy, right?
Mm.
Whether you're just trying to skim over something, and we all do it, it's okay. But for me, I think that was such a beautiful way of saying the answer that I want to give you might not be the answer that you want to hear, or something
Yes.
along the lines of that. And then you put them on the spot a little bit, and then that's also okay because what that might do for that person is get them to do a bit of self-reflection as well, to say, well, okay, I'm just a bit on autopilot myself. They might not even know themselves, which I found a lot in America when I was living there, because they're very, you think they're very friendly people, but they're just, it's kind of almost designed in them. Oh, hey, how you doing? Absolutely, absolutely shit. Great, that's amazing. Did you hear what I just said? No, because they're on
Yeah.
autopilot. It's like almost like ingrained in them. That's the response.
I think there's been a few times where you've used the expression that we need to be in the here and the now, and we need to be present. So, like you and I are talking to each other and all these beautiful listeners, and we are present and we are listening and acknowledging how each other are feeling, which is really, really important. A lot of people don't take the time to do that. And I think sometimes when people are having discussions, it's almost like, you get those scenarios when you're having quite an in-depth discussion and you think, oh, if I don't get that out now, I'm going to forget it. Definitely when with menopause, definitely. And I do feel that that's when we have to stop ourselves. That's when we've got to put that brake on and keep it zipped. And I do now, as I've gotten older, I definitely do find that if I do actually interject, I actually then stop myself and I actually have a little quiet word with myself inside. It's like, Moira, zip it, love. Let the person talk, and then you could speak, because they want to be heard. They want to be listened to. It's about respecting that person too. And we don't get enough respect, unfortunately. So I think it is very much about taking that step back and spending the time listening more. And I think that's not something that happens overnight. I think that takes time, and a lot of experiences yourself to actually appreciate and understand it. And honestly, I mean, I can be walking along the street and somebody will stop me and they'll start talking to me and I have no idea who they are, but that person needs to talk. And I don't know the last person that may have spoken to that person, and I will stop and I will listen. And I will not talk until they have finished, because I want to show them some respect as well, because I feel you have come and chosen me to talk to. So I take that as a gift almost, and only at that point where they have finished, then I will talk. And it may be 10 minutes out of my day, half an hour out of my day. It's irrelevant, the time frame. If at the end of that time, that person walks away feeling that they have been heard, that they are valued and they've been listened to, I couldn't ask for more.
So, so beautiful. And that reminds me a lot of like what my mom does as well. And I think that's why you two get on really well. And as you were saying that, and I'm literally going on live to say that, like, I would really get frustrated with my mom, and still sometimes still do, when like she'll just start talking to someone, and like there's times where like, come on, mom, we have to go. We're gonna miss this train. Like at those times, like, right, mom, right, I get it. You want to help her, but we also have to get the train. And there's a balance of like obviously being respectful of the time, but it's so powerful what you just said. And I want to also give a shout out to Neil Giller, because he said, I'd rather spend 30 minutes listening to you than spending 10 minutes at your grave. And that hit home. I was
Yes.
like, wow. And that was a reflection on me, because sometimes I do like think, oh yeah, it's 10 minutes now. Oh gosh. And I'm looking at the time and I'm like, oh, we need to get this done. We need to get that done. But actually, you have to balance that out with what is needed in that time.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's okay to be a bit delayed for the right reasons, because you don't know what
No,
that person is going through.
100%, 100%.
But it's like also then communicating that. And this is where I think a lot of the frustrations with my mom would come to fruition, with that she was notoriously always running behind schedule for whatever reason it is. But then kind of had this conversation in our families, like, if something's happening and you're delayed, just let us know as well. We live in a time now where we're very blessed to be able to quickly text, voice note, pick up the phone. We didn't have that
Yeah.
30 years ago. We didn't have that.
Yeah.
That ability to be like, I'm running late, or this has just happened, bear with
Yes.
me. We do have that now, and so what a time to be alive, honestly. But also touching on something you mentioned as well is we don't give a lot of respect and we don't get a lot of respect. And I think we need to really look to change that now. Respecting ourselves
Yeah.
enough to say no to things that
Yes.
don't serve us.
Yes.
Respecting others to give them their space and time when you're talking to them. Just genuinely trying to be more present. I know I'm so guilty of having my mind go somewhere else when I'm somewhere. But I'm really now like trying to catch myself when I do it. And that's what it comes down to. And you said it doesn't happen overnight. It comes with practice, people. You need to practice this stuff. Listening is a skill. People, oh yeah, I listen. I'm a good listener. Are you? Because listening is a skill. You have to learn it, because when you start actually becoming a lot more aware of yourself and the way you speak, communicate, the amount of times I used to, and in my family as well, we used to talk over each other. And it was normal. We didn't even know that we were doing it
Yeah.
until I think either myself started therapy or my sister started therapy or somebody brought it to the table that, can you let me finish, please? Because I was talking. And at first, when it was said to you,
Yeah.
oh my God, do you feel that? I wasn't even, and then defensive. I wasn't. You automatically get defensive.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't. No, I wasn't. But the more we do it and the more we catch ourselves and we would point it out saying, wait, I hadn't finished talking yet. But now it's become such a beautiful way. Like, it very rarely happens.
Yes.
And when it happens, sister says to me, look, me, I haven't finished talking yet. It doesn't even bother me. I'm like, right, yes. Note, luck me, try better next time. Let somebody finish. But before, it would really rattle me up.
Yes. Yes.
And so we just invite you all to try and see if that resonates with you, or if you are that person who maybe interrupts a little bit. You might not even know you are, but just try it. Like, maybe that's a little exercise you can try today when you're listening to this. And a lot, like, again, what you were saying, a lot of people will probably be listening to this episode while they're driving and things, which is fine. But try and really let it sit with you. And this is why I try not to make my episodes too long, because I want it to make it digestible so people can take away things for them to sort of like really put into practice and just sit and think about it, because we don't do that enough as well. We're so quick to get on to the next thing. Finish now, let's go on to do something else. And we're very rarely really in the moment, isn't it? It's crazy.
But I think it's, and a lot of obviously to do with that is the society we live in, whether we've got young children at home, whether we may have elderly parents at home, we're rushed off our feet. There is always something go, 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 go. And it's sadly the only time we tend to, and I say that in inverted commas, we tend to actually take a step back is once something has happened, whatever it may be.
And it's usually not something that's not very nice.
Yes. And then we suddenly have to deal with whatever that fallout may be. And because we haven't taken the time on ourselves on a daily basis. So I'm not talking, I'm going off for a retreat for 4 days, as lovely as they are. This is an everyday thing for all you beautiful listeners out there. This is something every day. If you have an opportunity to make a window for yourself, it could be once you've put the kids to bed or once you've done whatever it is you need to deal with in your daily life, and you close a door behind you and you sit down and you close your eyes, listen to one of Lakmi's meditations and so forth. Listen to her beautiful voice. Let's get yourself nice and calm, and let's get you focused, and let's get you set and ready for a brand new day.
Thank you so much. And you know what? That's the exact reason why the 111 approach was essentially channeled, because I was that person. I was doing 2 jobs trying to like be in a relationship and also be with my family and just live and survive. And I was like, but I'm a Reiki master, and even I don't have time to do like my wellness, my
Yeah.
meditations and stuff. And I'm like, what? I can't then say that this stuff is great if I'm not even doing it myself. And then and to speak on that as well, and that's purely the reasons as well. Like I do the live 1 minute meditations on Instagram, and they're free. Like, I'm always gonna show up live because if that is the only time you can take out of your day, 1 minute, but if you do that 1 minute properly and you sit with intention and focus and like, right, for 60 seconds, I'm going to be just present with myself, it's just so powerful. But that what that will enable you to do is practice, and that's what it is. And they say practice makes perfect because it's true. You have to practice it. It's a meditation practice. It's a wellness practice. It's self-development because it's always going to develop, you know. Very rarely are we going to reach that. Even when you reach enlightenment and you reach the top level, you have to still maintain it, right? So it's going to take practice because you have to practice what you preach. And I think just going back a little bit as well on what you said when you were talking at the beginning about when people would ask you how you're feeling after you lost your dad and stuff, and things weren't great, and we were feeling all those emotions of like, well, why are you asking me if you don't really care? And now when we sit back and we think about, okay, those people may not feel comfortable because they don't know what to say. Two things there I wanted to kind of highlight before we wrap up this episode is we have to also be okay with going through life in certain eras or times where we don't have to have everything sorted out and happy and we have to be all put together. I think there's so much pressure, and I know a few people in my family who are like this and they only ever show a certain side to them, and I'm like, it's not sustainable.
No, no.
And even when you see it on all your Instagrams and your social media and stuff, it's like always positive, always positive. Yes, we want to be in a high vibe. Yes, we do. But it's also very important to acknowledge and feel and process the times when you're not.
Yeah.
And that's where you do need to lean on people for support. For those of us who are maybe going through that and you're playing that role now, we all play roles, right? We're going to play every single role, whether you like it or not. You're going to play every single role in life. You're going to play the martyr. You're going to play the villain. You're going to play the heroine. You're going to play the earth angel. You're going to play the savior. You're going to play every single role in someone else's life. You could be the nicest person. You know, Maury, you're the freaking nicest person I've ever met. But I know in someone else's story, you're probably a bitch.
Oh, God, yes.
Oh, yeah, same with me.
100%. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Same
I mean,
with
we're
me.
talking Taurian love.
You know, and it's okay. We have to be okay with playing all these roles. I'm going to do an episode on this because this is one of the reasons that I wanted to start this podcast, because I was going through something at the time last year and I was like, wow, this person literally labels me as a homewrecker, a villain, whatever. And I'm like, in her story, that's who I am. But I'm okay with being that because in the other person's story, I basically saved their life because they were about to take their own life. So, you know what I mean? So you will play every single role and we have to be okay with that. So there'll be times where we're in the role of, we are feeling like the victim. Yes, we don't want to stay in there and, oh, don't be a victim. I don't want to be a victim. Well, newsflash, at times you will have to be the victim because that's what's going to happen. And you will need that extra support. You will need the people to lift you up. As long as we don't stay in that state, right? And even then, I say sometimes to my mum, like, we can't be in that savior martyr state all the time because you're not empowering that other person. You're always going to just be helping them and you won't actually move them through their role of being helped. So we always have to be constant fluctuation, because when we stay stagnant, that's not great because you're stuck in a role then.
Yes.
And we're here to experience every single thing, the highs, the lows, and everything else, right?
Our experiences, as hard as some of those journeys are, make us who we are today. And I'm sure there are many listeners out there who have had many, many different journeys, experiences in their lives. And that's why we are who we are today. And don't get me wrong, I'm kind of like, there's a few which I could well have done without, but at the same time, if I hadn't have been through that, I would not have the understanding and I wouldn't have the empathy and I wouldn't be who I am sitting here today. For that, I'm very grateful and thankful.
Yeah, no, 100% agree with you there. Another thing I wanted to just quickly highlight when you said that as well was like when, if you are a person who struggles to be that supportive person when somebody asks you, or when you ask someone, oh, how are you doing? And they hit you with a response where you're like, oh my God, I don't know what to say. I feel really uncomfortable, because that's okay as well. We're not calling you out, because I've been in that situation. I'm like, oh shit, what do I say now? Like, I'm trying to be more conscious now. I'm like, okay, because I've always wanted to maybe offer a solution or
Yes.
do something else. And I've learned the hard way that that's not always a good thing as well. Some people, like you said, they just want to be heard or comforted. And I want to give another shout out to a great guy that is Mr. George T, because at one of the meetings that was run by George and Neil, George always comes out with the Triple H approach. Just ask the person, Triple H, 3 H's, do you want to be heard? So I'm just going to just be a sounding board today. I'm just going to listen to you. Do you want to be helped? When you finish talking, I will offer a solution if I can. Or do you want to just be hugged? And I'll hug you. And I want to say thank you so much to George, because I would always be very solution orientated. I'll be like, right, I know this thing, I know that, let me help you, because I'm a helper. I want to help, I want to help, I want to help.
Yes, yes.
Not everyone needs to be
No.
or wants to be helped.
No.
Sometimes they just want to be heard or hugged. And it's such a great question to ask someone. And I love that. And I was like, wow. Yeah. So if you are struggling when somebody asks you and you're not sure what to say, just ask them. Just remember Triple H, the wrestler, heard, hugged, or helped. And then also, if you are on the flip side and somebody asks you, how are you doing? Just be honest. See how it feels to just be like, okay, I'm actually going to be honest with myself and with that person and say, I'm not doing so great today, but I don't want to talk about it. If you don't want to talk about it, but if you do, there's an open forum there for you. But I think that sort of nicely brings everything round to what we wanted to talk about today, which was effective and honest communication. And I'm very, again, grateful that there are people like you in my life and in the world. So we're going to now end with a 1 minute meditation, as always. So if it is safe for you to do so, please close your eyes. Take a nice, deep, controlled breath in through your nose. Hold for a few seconds. And then breathe out through your mouth. And seeing as we've been talking about open and honest communication today, I want you to take this minute and just ask yourself, how am I feeling right here, right now, in this present moment? And if you're able to, maybe make a note of it. If nothing's coming up for you, just be patient. Check in and see how you're feeling. Don't be scared of any emotion that comes up, because it's just energy in motion that needs to come up and be released. We don't give enough time to ourselves to ask this question daily, but this is your time now. This is your sign. Check in with yourself. How am I feeling right now? And now just take a nice deep breath in through your nose, holding and breathing out through your mouth, opening your eyes and not judging yourself for whatever came up in that question, because we're meant to feel all the emotions. This is what we're here for. It'd be a bit of a one-sided, boring life if we didn't. Isn't that right, Moira?
It absolutely is.
So, with that, I just wanted to always end with gratitude. Firstly, for my beautiful guest, friend, soul, vibe tribe member. Thank you so much. Like, Maura, I've said this so many times to you, you are just such an amazing, incredible soul. And you don't roll your eyes at me, girl. There's a little head flick there. The ghetto drug lord's coming out again. You're a reformed drug addict. No, you're not really. You're a reformed drug dealer. Come on, we're good. No, this is maybe going to be edited out, but I just want to say this as we're recording anyway, just because I want to put it out there in the ether. You are just amazing, and I just want you to remember how beautiful and amazing you are, because I think you do kind of tend to lowball yourself and not really step into your power enough. And so just,
Thank you. I can't say much more because I'm going to cry.
all right, we're welcome crying here. You're just a powerhouse. You really are. And I'm just so excited for what you're going to be doing in the next year or two, or whatever it is, because you've changed and touched so many people's lives. And I know you just think it's like, oh, yeah, who, me? Yes, you. Because fucking Moira Parry, man, she's just amazing. And I'm so blessed to call you my friend. I'm just very grateful.
Thank you.
I love you.
I love you too.
And I love you, listeners, as well. Sending you all love, light, and blessings. I'll see you on the next episode.